Unit 4.5, graphing linear equations. Alright, now that we know what a linear equation is, and we know how to convert it to slope-intercept form, we need to use that information to graph. Alright, so there's a few steps you need to know. Write the equation in slope-intercept form. So if it's not already in y equals mx plus b, you need to convert it. Right? The thing we just did with the previous stuff. Right? Graph the y-intercept. Right? This is always point 0, b. This is always your y-intercept. Right? This is always your b equals what? Use the slope to create more points. Remember that slope is rise over run. So it's your up and down over your left and right. Right? That's your M. Use a ruler to draw a line that extends through the points, placing an arrow on both ends. This is important. It needs to extend past your points and have an arrow on both ends so that it tells me, the viewer, that your line goes on forever. But if you don't extend past and you don't put on the arrows on the end, then I don't know your line goes on forever. I might think it's just a small line segment. So you need to go through and arrows. I'll show you what I mean. Right? Let's do, well, it doesn't really matter. Alright. So the first thing you want to do is pull out the slope and the y-intercept. After you've had some practice, you can do this without writing it down. You can do it in your head. But for the first page at least, I want to see your M and your B. I need to know that you know what your slope and y-intercept are. Alright? In this case, my slope is this invisible 1. So my slope is -1. And my y-intercept is my +5. I need you to be able to tell me that. I need you to show me that you know that by writing down m equals -1 and b equals 5. Okay? Then you use this to graph. You graph this point first. Graph first. Right? On your y-axis. On y-axis. Right? Because remember I said the point is going to be 0, b. B is 5, so your first point is going to be 0, 5 on the y-axis. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is your first point right there. Make sure I can tell that there's a point there. Right? This is your second point. This is directions to your second point. Right? -1. That means you're going to go down 1, right 1. Put a point. Down 1, right 1. Down 1, right 1. If you ever have to go backwards, right? Because I remember I told you it's a fraction. Down 1, right 1. Right? Down 1, right 1. If you ever have to go backwards, the negative sign can float. That means that -1 over 1 is the same as 1 over -1. The negative sign can float. That means you can go up 1, left 1, and it'll still be on the same line. I'll talk to you more about that. But once you have your points, technically you only need 2 points to make a line. 3 if you want it to be straighter. Right? You go through the points and you put arrows on the end. Extends through the points and arrows on the end. This is important, ladies and gentlemen. Alright, so let's do one without all that extra stuff. So my slope is 2 over 5. The slope is the number, the coefficient before the x. The slope is the coefficient before the x. If it's a whole number, make it a fraction. And my b if your equation is written in the correct order, your b will be the constant at the end, positive 2. Right? That means my first point is going to go at 0, positive 2. And my second point is going to go at 2 up, 5 right, 2 up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right. And again, if you need to go backwards, remember, 2 over 5 is the same as negative 2 over negative 5. It's the same thing. So if you need to go the other direction to make it fit on your graph, then do the opposite here. Down 2, left 5. Right? Down 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, look at that. It lines right up because it's the same line. Go all the way through the points and put an arrow on the end. Ends, plural. Go all the way through and put arrows on the end. 5. My slope is 2, which means I need it to be 2 over 1 so that I know my rise and my run. And my y-intercept is positive 6. So my first point is going to be at 0, positive 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ah, now aren't you glad I taught you that thing? Because to go 2 up and 1 over is off the graph. But if 2 over 1 puts you off the graph, then do the opposite. Negative 2 over negative 1. Because they're equal. They're equivalent. So I can go down 2, left 1, and still be on the same line. Right? Down 2, left 1. Down 2, left 1. You do as many points as you want to, but at least 2. You have to have at least 2. 3 is better. Oh, that's not good. I don't like that one. This is why you're supposed to use a ruler. I think I've done pretty good considering. But my slope is positive, my line is positive. There's a connection there. Pay attention to that. If your slope is negative and you have a positive line, you did something wrong. If your slope is positive and you have a negative line, you did something wrong. Take a second and look. Figure out what you did wrong. These are ways to double check your work. Remember, if there's nothing after here, if there's no b, it's because it's an invisible 0. Right? It's the invisible 0. So my slope is negative 4. That means we know it's going to be a negative slope. A way to check my work. And my b is my 0. If your b, your y-intercept, is 0, that means your first point goes on the origin. Now you see why I asked you to label the origin, so that you would remember where it was. Alright? 4 over 1, so I'm going to go down 4, right 1. 1, 2, 3, 4 here. And if I do it again, it's off the graph. So let's do the opposite. Instead of negative 4 over 1, I'm going to do 4 over negative 1. Which means I'm going to go up 4 and I'm going to go left 1. Alright, starting back at the origin, because that's our y-intercept. That's where it crosses the y-axis. We're going to go up 4 and left 1. If you're graphing a linear equation and you don't end up with a straight line, double check your math. Because, well, it has to be a straight line. It's not a linear equation if it's not a straight line. Line, linear, get it? Oh, look, we knew it was going to be negative. So we can, that's one way to make sure you have the right answer. Trickery. Don't let them trick you. This is out of order. You have a choice. You can put it in order, or you can remember that the coefficient of the x is your slope. right? That means my slope is -6/5. Even though it's out of order, I know the coefficient is the slope. And my b is +1. If you can't make that connection yet, rearrange it. Just make sure you're very, very careful with your signs, right? This has an invisible positive sign. So if you rearrange it, it's actually y equals -6/5x plus 1. You don't have to rearrange it if you don't want to, but be very, very careful with your signs if you do rearrange it. All right, so our first point is at 0, 1. Our next one is down 6, right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Woo! So the opposite would be up 6, left 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Woo! Just because I like to put 3 points. It makes my line straighter. I know what you're saying. My line is not straight. I know that. You'll have a ruler. I do not. Don't judge me. Alright, let's flip it over to the back where they start complicating it. Now that we've got the idea of how to graph in slope-intercept form, they're going to give us some that are not in slope-intercept form. We are going to have to put them in slope-intercept form. Well, you already had the answer for 10 if you took the time to write it down. It's much smarter to figure it out yourself, though, but who am I to tell you what to do? That was homeroom trying to figure it out ahead of you guys. They think they're smarter than you, so they wanted to try to figure it out. They might be. They did pretty good. Alright, so it's not in slope-intercept form. It's not in y equals mx plus b. I can't graph it if it's not in y equals mx plus b. So I need to put it in y equals mx plus b. I need to solve for y. This is why we learned to do that. Right, this is a positive x. We're going to subtract x from both sides. Negative y equals -1x minus 5. Divide by -1 to get rid of the negative. Y is equal to 1x plus 5. So my slope is 1, which is 1 over 1. And my y-intercept is 5. So my first point goes to 0, 5. And my next one goes 1 up, 1 right. Or 1 down, 1 left. I know I put too many points. I like to see them lined up. It makes me happy. No, I don't like that. That's pretty good. Positive slope, positive. Okay, again, convert, solve for y. Because it doesn't have a sign, you can assume it's positive. 3y equals -4x plus 21. Because it doesn't have a sign, you can assume it's positive. Divide by 3. Y equals -4 over 3 x plus 7. 21 divided by 3 is 7. So my slope is -4 over 3. So I know my slope should be, I know after I graph it, it should be a negative slope. Think about it. And my y-intercept is +7, so 0, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Down 4, right 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, right 3. Just like that. And that's how you do it. I don't like that. Maybe I need to get on this side. Nope. This one's going to be hard because of the angle. Ooh, that's rough. Oh, I'll take it. That's not even close to a straight line. If only I had a ruler. Alright, 15. Negative 2x. 3y equals negative 2x plus 0. Don't need to put the 0, but it helps. Y equals negative 2 over 3x plus 0. It helps because it reminds me it's the y-intercept. So my slope is negative 2 over 3, and my y-intercept is 0. We did something wrong. My slope should have been negative. What did we do wrong? Down 4, right 3. Oh,